One thing I did early on in my podcasting journey is leverage Pinterest for podcast growth. I have been podcasting for almost 4 years now, and Pinterest is still one of my top traffic drivers to my podcast. It's such a low lift way to market your podcast. And I truly believe every podcaster needs to have a Pinterest profile set up for their podcast. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this episode with today's guest, Andi Smiley. Andi is a Pinterest expert who has seen firsthand the benefits of Pinterest for podcasters. When she got serious about using Pinterest strategically, her podcast downloads doubled in a matter of months, and she hit her highest revenue month in her 4 years of business. You're going to hear all about her experience with Pinterest, as well as a breakdown of how to determine if Pinterest is right for your podcast, and so much more. All right, let's jump into today's episode. All right. Today on Evergreen Marketing Era for Women Entrepreneurs, I am sitting down to chat with Andi Smiley, and we are talking about all things Pinterest. Andi is the queen of Pinterest for podcasters. So I'm super excited to have her on the podcast today to just share so much of her knowledge and expertise with us. So, Andi, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And also, that is like the biggest compliment to be the queen of Pinterest for podcasters. That feels really fun. And I haven't really thought about it that way, but I'm here for that title. I'm here for it.
You're the only person I truly see talking about it. Like, you're the first person I actually saw talk about it and everything. So I'm giving you like that title. Like, anybody else that starts talking about him, like, you did it after Andi. You weren't here before her.
It's true. I feel like it needs to be talked about, and it hasn't been. So I'm glad that I can raise some awareness about Pinterest for podcasters. It's
Yes.
such a good tool.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking all about that today, but I want to start with how you actually got started with Pinterest for your podcast. Because a lot of times podcasters, they don't really think about Pinterest. They don't really look at how this can actually help grow their podcast audience. And so I would love to know how you got started and what made you to decide to go with Pinterest. Like, what was it like? Ooh, let me try out Pinterest for my podcast.
Totally. Okay, so I love this question because it wasn't like this decision overnight. So several years ago, I was in like a business coaching group, and the coach lady, she was like, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing Pinterest for your business? Like, it's a really good tool for your business to market your business in a way that not very many people are doing." And I was like, "Oh, I wonder if that would work for my podcast specifically, like not the business side of my podcast, but the actual episodes."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." And I kind of looked into it and was like, okay, cool. And kind of like put it on a shelf. I think I probably posted a couple of pins, but it wasn't anything like, I will now do Pinterest forever. And I kind of like played with the idea of Pinterest, and I would like post a couple of pins, but then it would always like fall by the wayside because I had so many other things I was trying to do with
Mhm.
marketing. And then actually like a year ago right now, which is so fun, I was like, you know what? No, I am going to be consistent with Pinterest. And my consistency was one pin a week. Like, it was nothing crazy, but I was like,
Yeah.
I just need to start. I just need to try it, and I need to see what's going to happen. So for the first several months, it was just one pin a week for each episode that dropped. And
Mhm.
one day I was looking at my stats, my pin stats on Pinterest. I was like, oh, wow, this one pin has like thousands of views. Like, what happened?
Mhm.
I don't even know. So it was like, oh, okay. So so there are people that want what I am teaching in my podcast. They
Mhm.
want it on Pinterest. So I was like, okay. So I upped it to 3 pins a week. Really, really pushing the envelope there, Andi. But and I was like, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna keep being consistent. I'm gonna add a few more pins. And truly, it's kind of gone from there. Now I do a pin a day, which honestly is still not as many as a lot of like Pinterest experts say
Yeah.
you should do. But that's what I can handle. And so that's what I do.
Mhm.
And it has just been such a game changer for me. Truly. Okay. And I will say, when I went to one pin a day, that was last summer.
Mhm.
Um, the reason that I did that is because I was looking at my stats on Pinterest versus my stats on Instagram, and I was getting so much more traction on Pinterest from not only the pins that I had pinned more recently, but also past pins that I hadn't that it'd been like a couple
Mhm.
of years and people were still finding these pins. While Instagram, I would get like, on a good day, I would get like 50 views on a story and then it would be gone. So it was just like Instagram was so frustrating and Pinterest was making so much sense. So now I am what I call Instagram optional. Like I hop on Instagram every once in a while. I have started to do a little bit more posting, but like I do not market my podcast specifically. I'm more so marketing like the business side, like my offers on Instagram. And then my podcast is Pinterest is all podcast stuff, plus also businessy stuff and like freebies for my email to get you on my like to get subscribers for my email list. But yeah,
Mhm.
I'm definitely Instagram optional now. And it is the best feeling I think of ever.
I love that, and it's kind of similar to kinda like my journey with Pinterest, but one of the things I love that you said is, like, your Instagram optional. And I always tell people that promoting your podcast on Instagram is a waste of time. And I know people look at me like I'm crazy, but the reality is that, like, if you put a link in your stories, your views are going to tank. If you tell them to go to your link in your bio, your views are going to tank. They like really do limit you. Like, if you're trying to push people off the platform, you get penalized for it.
Hmm.
And we also have to look at the fact that, like, with Pinterest or not with Pinterest, with Instagram, people are scrolling. So, like, a lot of the times they're just scrolling, and then if they see something that's, like, funny or something that really captures their attention, they may stop. But it's like you're not gonna get those people who will truly be engaged with your content, those people who will actually sit and listen to your podcast episodes from Instagram. And
No.
so I love that you shared that, like, it's not the best way to go when it comes to trying to grow your podcast audience and everything, especially when you're a business owner with a podcast. Like, we're trying to attract the people who would be a good fit to work with us to our podcast. So we wanna make sure we're trying to get in front of those quality leads and stuff like that. But similar to you, like, I think when I started my podcast, I did start with Pinterest, but it was sporadic. I did, like, try to commit to, like, doing 1 pin per episode, and I started seeing, like, some traction with it and everything. Like, I would have a few random pins that would kind of, like, go semi-viral, where people are
Hmm.
actually
Hmm.
clicking, and I'm getting a lot of views and stuff, and so last year, I did kinda up it to 2 to 3 pins per episode, and so, like, that's kind of, like, where I'm sticking with right now. I do eventually wanna get to daily pins, but I'm not quite there yet.
Girl, I feel like truly Pinterest likes consistency more than
Mhm.
volume is what I have learned.
Yes.
Like truly, if you can crank out so many beautiful pins that like and you can stay on that, great. But
Mhm.
most of us just can't. So I would
Yeah.
rather have you do less pins that are all beautiful and like beautiful is the wrong word. Beautiful for me is like they have really good keywords and they like
Yes.
describe what like they say what you're going to click on and like they say it in a way that
Mhm.
your people want to hear. Like if that's what you've got, then I feel like it's so much better to do quality pins rather than, like, so many pins that are like, "Eh, they're fine." Like, I would rather have less,
Yes.
but the quality be better. So I think what you're doing is great.
I agree. And like one of the things like I was telling you before we started recording is that Pinterest is literally my number two like driver to like my podcast. And like how I do it, I actually link to the show notes that I have housed on my website. So it's like driving a lot of traffic to my website and everything. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm not going to let this go because it's bringing in so much traffic and I don't have to do a lot. I don't have to go and engage. I don't have to create a whole bunch of content, quote unquote. I just like part of my podcast production workflow is that I already have templates created. So I go in and I like change out the text and stuff like that and the images, but I create the 2 to 3 pins and then I schedule them and then I forget about it. Like it's so simple, but it
Seriously, though.
does so much for my podcast growth. So, like, yeah, I know I'm, like, really stressing this point here, but I want you to know you
I
do
love
not
it.
have to promote your podcast on Instagram. There are better, more effective ways. And kind of speaking of that, and I know we touched on this a little bit, but can you share a little bit more about why Pinterest is such an effective low lift marketing platform for podcasters?
Okay, so this is what I will say. I feel like I have so many answers to this question because I feel very passionate about this, but The two like biggest ones are what we talked about earlier with Instagram. People go to Instagram to be entertained. They
Mhm.
don't go there to learn or get information. While people go to Pinterest to take action, to learn, to click, to listen. Yeah. And that is one of the best things for podcasters, right? We're not there
Mhm.
to entertain. At least I'm not. Like, sure,
Yeah.
I want my podcast to be somewhat entertaining so you want to listen, but like I'm not there with like the latest pop culture gossip for you to
Yeah.
listen to. I'm there to help you grow your podcast. So
Mhm.
that is one thing that it's like, oh, Instagram isn't really clicking because the people there are not they're not there to learn, they're there to be entertained. They're not and like you said, Instagram doesn't want you to leave the platform while Pinterest is fine with it. Pinterest is like, "Cool, you found what you want? Great, go find it on the website." Thank goodness. And then the other thing that I'll say that's really nice about, that, like, Pinterest and podcasters are just it's just so perfect is Pinterest loves evergreen content. Like I was talking about earlier with like, I have pins that I pinned several years ago that people are still finding and using and are still driving downloads. Like, I am finding downloads from those pins years later, which is amazing for podcasters because that's what most podcasters have evergreen content, right? Are an episode that I made last year, you could still listen to it and learn something from it and implement it for your podcast. So, why not take advantage of a platform that rewards evergreen content? Because most
Mhm.
social media platforms, and I don't know if I even truly consider Pinterest a social media platform, it's definitely more of a
Yeah.
search platform, but I feel like a lot of people consider it a social media platform. Um, but compared to like Instagram or TikTok, those are definitely not platforms that are for evergreen content. While Pinterest
Mm.
loves evergreen content, is like, yes, we will keep showing people this as long as people are still searching for this, which is just, it's just a match made in heaven for podcasters.
It really is, like, because it's like you said, it's a search engine, it's a SEO-based platform. I mean, even if we look at the fact, like, when we Google something, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna see something from Pinterest come up in that search results.
Seriously.
So, it's like, it works so perfectly because your podcast, as long as you're creating, evergreen content, like, it's a match made in heaven, and it's just so simple to implement and everything. So, like, I know we already kind of talked about this, but is there anything else you can say as far as like related to like Pinterest being more effective than like platforms like Instagram or TikTok for podcast growth?
Definitely. Okay. So this is what I will say. You know how everyone, maybe not everyone, most people, whenever they're like, hey, you should try this platform. And then you get into it and you're like, and they're like, hey, so the best thing is that you have to be consistent and like you have to show up every day in stories or whatever. That's specifically with Instagram, but like I feel like TikTok is the same way, right? You have to post
Mhm.
something new every single day. And like if you schedule it out, I feel like not so much anymore, but like when Instagram first rolled out scheduling, I feel like you were penalized if you scheduled things out ahead of time,
Mhm.
right? And with Pinterest, like there is no penalty. My goal was to have all of my pins for December done by like the 10th of December or something so that I could just like enjoy
Mhm.
Christmas with my family. And I did it. And those pins are still doing well today, right? Like it was like one of those things where it was like, oh, hey, I can schedule this out like a month in advance and no one cares. No one even knows. And Pinterest is still going to push those out. And honestly, Pinterest actually kind of likes that. I don't know
Mhm.
this for sure. I cannot speak for Pinterest. I don't like have them on speed dial. But from what I have gathered, Pinterest likes consistency. So scheduling
Mhm.
things out is an easy way for me to stay consistent. While on Instagram or TikTok, it's different. Like you have to actually show up. You have to open the app every single day in some form or fashion to make sure that that like those apps, the algorithms still like you. While Pinterest, I did not open Pinterest like, during Christmas break, I don't think I opened it one time. I was like,
Mhm.
there's stuff there, it's, like, doing its thing, and, like and that was true. Like, I was getting downloads even though from Pinterest, even though I wasn't actually doing anything on the platform, and that was just, like, the best thing. I feel like it was, like, one of those things where, yes, it like, I've looked at my numbers and like, my downloads are up, my email subscribers are up, I'm making more money than ever because of Pinterest, which is all amazing, and I'm so grateful for all of that, but if I were to, like, take a step back, my favorite part about Pinterest is that I can schedule stuff out and then forget about it, like you said. Like, that
Mhm.
especially as, like, a mom I do not have that much time to be
Yeah.
spending marketing my podcast. And so if there is a platform out there that is okay with me scheduling out 1, 2, 3 weeks in advance and won't penalize me for it, that is where I'm gonna put my time and energy because I don't like I usually have small blocks of time and I can just like
Mhm.
batch a bunch of stuff and then I gotta be done because I wanna be present with my kids. So
Yes, I agree, and I love that's one of the things I really love about Pinterest too, because I noticed the same thing, like, anytime I would schedule a post on Instagram, I would get like, the content just would not be pushed out, like, it would just be really bad engagement and different things like that, and one of the things I love about Pinterest is, like, yes, I schedule it out, and maybe it'll take it a little bit of time to gain traction, but it does end up gaining traction, like, there's no limit on that, so to speak, like,
yeah.
it can literally pick up at any given moment, and you'll
Yeah.
start getting, like seeing all this, like, increase in traffic and different things like that, and so that's what I love about it, like, I'm not checking Pinterest every day, I check it maybe once a week, but that's only when I'm going in to schedule some more pins, like,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
so it's such a really cool way just how it works and how people literally can discover your pins at any given moment, like, because 'cause I've had pins that maybe I published them, like, 3, 5, 6 months ago, and they start gaining all this traction. That actually happened with one of my blog posts, and it ended up becoming, like, one of my most popular blog posts, and, I'm currently, like, ranking for the keywords for that, blog post, like, on the first page of Google and stuff like that, but it's, like, it's really just cool to see, like, you'll just randomly check and like, "Oh, wow, this, like, started gaining some traction," and
Oh my
everything.
gosh.
But it's like you're
Yeah.
not thinking about it, you're not stressing about it, you're not worried about it or anything, like, you just let it do its own thing, like, you literally set it and forget it, and it's such an amazing feeling to be able to do that with a marketing platform.
Yes, amen to everything you said. And I think one of the best parts about Pinterest truly is that the longevity of pins. Like the
Mhm.
fact that you can have a pin, like you said, that maybe isn't really like doing that well, but you just like leave it there. And then, 5, 6 months in, you're like, oh, hey, 7,000 people have now seen this pin and 500 of them have clicked. And
Yeah.
now that episode is like one of my top 10 or whatever. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
it's just one of those things that if you just let Pinterest do its thing and like don't worry about it, that's usually the best way. That's the best
It
strategy.
is.
And doesn't that sound
Yes.
amazing? Like, hello, that's what I
Mhm.
want, which is why
Yeah.
I'm there.
So I want you to walk us through your Pinterest strategy. So I know you shared that you're publishing new pins weekly or like daily actually. But I want to know like what all do you do for like your Pinterest marketing? How long does it generally take you, like especially if you're batching pins? Like give us all the details on what you're doing.
Okay. So for me, I there's like back end stuff first. So
Hmm.
when I was setting up my truly, I had like a personal Pinterest. I just turned it to a business account,
Hmm.
which you can easily do. There's like a little toggle. That's all you have to press. Um, and because I randomly had like 700 followers already on my personal account, I was like, I don't know how, I don't know why, but here we are, and we'll just make this work. But if you don't have that many followers and you don't want to convert your personal to a business, you can always just start a new one, or and you can like what's the word? You can like tie it to your personal one, so it's under the same login, which is really nice. Um, but that's all just background information. So when I switched it to a business account and I started to take Pinterest more seriously, I spent I will I don't love that this is how it goes, but I did have to spend a couple of hours. It was probably like 2 hours on like Pinterest SEO research. And that was like, okay, what phrases and words do people use um, when they are searching for my content, and then putting that into Pinterest in the search bar as well as Pinterest trends. Be like, okay, so what phrases are people using that are similar to this one that are like Pinterest people are using? Because I want to
Mhm.
speak the language that Pinterest users are speaking, right? And so once I had all of that information, I kind of like sprinkled it throughout my profile, and then my boards, and then also every pin I try to have those SEO keywords in there. But do not, this is what I will say, do not keyword stuff. Pinterest is like, nah, does not like that. So that's one thing I will say. Don't try and shove all of your SEO keywords in there because Pinterest you will get penalized for that, which kind of feels weird. I'm not going to lie. Like that's like the thing that Pinterest is like, no, we want you to be, I guess maybe that's not weird. Maybe that's like, please just be human. Pinterest is like, just be normal. Just have
Yeah.
normal sentences. So that's kind of like my basic, that's like the setup part, right? And then as far as like my maintenance, I guess is what you could say, I spend anywhere, it depends. Honestly, it depends on the flow that I'm in. I feel like I'm just being very real with you all. But I usually spend like 5 to 10 minutes per pin. Once I'm kind of in a flow, I can bust out a lot of pins quickly. But depending on the day, sometimes it's not as quick. But yeah, I just do it on Canva. I even just have free Canva currently. Like I've paid for Canva before and it's been a good fit, but right now I've got other things I need to pay for, so Canva is free. And then so once I have it created on Canva, I download it and then I upload it to Pinterest, do a Pinterest title and description with those SEO keywords in mind. And then I make sure that I have one pin per day currently scheduled out. And I use the scheduler that's built into Pinterest just because it works for me. And that scheduler will let you go, I think it's 30 days out in advance. There is a platform, I don't know what to call it, called Tailwind, that will help you schedule out your pins if you want to go further than that. And they also have some other tools. But again, that's something you have to pay for. And right now, I don't want to pay for that. So, but it is a really awesome tool. Like I will say, if you want to schedule out even further than a month in advance and you want some extra Pinterest tools, that can be something to look into. Tailwind is not bad. It just costs money. And so if you're not ready to spend money on this, then you do not have to. Pinterest does have a scheduler built into the platform.
Yeah, I did use Tailwind for a little bit, and then I just went back to the native scheduler on Pinterest. It's just simpler. Like,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I love that. And I love what you brought up about searching within Pinterest, like the keywords and everything like that. Because I already do keyword research, like for my podcast episodes and everything. But this is actually something I learned from another Pinterest strategist. She said, search within the platform, look at the trends and stuff, so you see what people are actively searching on Pinterest, so that you're using that language and everything like that. So that's something definitely to note. I know I talk about like podcast SEO a lot on here, but with Pinterest, you want to use Pinterest SEO, so to speak.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
just making sure you're searching the platform, and looking too, because they also give you kind of like other suggested searches and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I've
totally.
used that to be able to get other ideas for other like keyword phrases I can essentially use for other pins and everything, still driving traffic to that same episode. But now I'm able to like publish even more pins, but using a different search term and stuff like that. So it's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Pinterest.
Yeah, totally. Well, and truly, like, so for my podcast, I have a seasonal show. So I'll do 3 months on, 3 months off. So when I'm
Hmm.
in my 3 months, I'm doing weekly episodes. But when I'm off, I'm still doing daily pins, but I just go back to like the previous season and I'll
Hmm.
do like a couple of pins per episode. And so I have so many pins per episode at this point just because of the nature of how I do my podcast, because
Hmm.
I used to do a weekly show and then I just completely burned out. So I had to switch. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's just so nice that Pinterest is like, "Oh, hey, you have more pins, same episodes. I don't care. I'm just excited to like."
Yes.
So that it's just been one of those things that Pinterest has also been a really good fit for a seasonal podcast. Even though I'm not
Mhm.
currently making new episodes, I can still create content about past episodes and get fresh eyes on those months
Mhm.
later.
Yes, yes. I love that. And I love that you brought that up like for a seasonal podcast because it can work for that too. But even if you are someone who does weekly, like you can create pins for older episodes and stuff. I do that, especially like for some of my more popular episodes.
Totally. Yes.
I will like go back later on and make additional pins. And I do that for my blog post too. Like anytime I go in and like refresh a blog post, I just create some more pins for it to go ahead and like schedule and stuff like that. And so that's another amazing thing about Pinterest is that you're not penalized for like essentially resharing content. Like, yes,
Yeah.
you're creating new pins, but the link is the same and everything. And so you just keep that traffic going in a simple way.
Totally. Well, truly. So, I have a service where I help people set up their Pinterest. We're going to talk about it later. But,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I do for some of my clients is I will create 30 days worth of pins for them. And when I'm first starting, I'll be like, "Hey, give me your top 5 episodes," because those are the episodes where we already know that people like it and we already know that people are going to click on it. So like,
Mhm.
let's start there. And even if the episode was like a year ago, that doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
just we already know that people will like it, so we might as well get all of
Mhm.
the people that are on Pinterest to fall in love with you via this episode too.
Yes, and that's the goal, right? Like, we just wanna get them to the podcast, and they can start
Exactly.
scrolling
Yes.
through and choosing the episodes they wanna listen to, so
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I would love for you to share, like, what results you have seen or your clients have seen since using Pinterest, and how long did it actually take for you to see those types of results?
Okay, I love this because because I'm a year in to consistently using Pinterest, I just did all of this research. So, I love this question. Okay, so I have noticed that the 3 biggest takeaways for me stats-wise with Pinterest was, first of all, my podcast monthly downloads went up by 74%. Like, it was like a gi I know. It was like, "Oh,
Wow.
hi. Hi there. Love this." That was a fun number.
Mhm,
Um, and honestly, I wasn't expecting it to be that high. Like, I knew that we had been growing and, like, I knew I was getting more downloads, but I was not expecting that much of a jump. So that was fun. And then I also have let me think. Sorry. Email subscribers.
mhm,
I've had 200 people, no, more than 200, a little bit more than 200 people join my email list, which has been
mm,
really fun. And also, and like the beauty of these numbers is that I'm not really doing that much different. Like I'm not putting out more
mhm.
episodes, I'm not working more hours. In some cases I'm working less hours because my children are just like, I feel like they just need me more these days. Even though they're getting older, don't ask me why, but that's just kind of how it is. And so, yeah, no, I'm not doing like so many more hours of work or so many more episodes that I'm putting out, but
Mhm,
I'm still growing significantly faster than I expected. And then the last stat that's fun is when I was looking at my revenue months, since I've been on Pinterest, since I started consistently putting pins on Pinterest, I have made more money.
mhm,
Like, definitely still a roller coaster of, like, not every month is the same,
mhm,
but the months before I was on Pinterest and the months after, there's significantly more revenue in the months after, which has
mhm.
been a very I knew that one in my heart too, but it was fun to see it on paper to be like, "Oh, hey, look, Pinterest
Yeah.
is helping me not only grow my podcast, grow my email list, but also helping me make more money."
Yes, yes, I love that. I'm curious, so like for you growing your email list, so are you creating pins that link to like specific like landing page for a freebie opt-in? Like tell us a little bit more about that.
Totally. Okay, so right now so I have like 7 pins in a week, right? Because I'm
Mhm,
doing daily pins. Usually, like 5 of those pins will be for an episode, either the episode that came out that week, or if I'm not currently putting out episodes,
mhm,
I'll pick a past episode. And then those other 2 pins are usually either a freebie offer or a low ticket offer. Um,
okay.
and both of those, if you grab my freebie or if you grab a low ticket, you usually end up on my email list because like you can just click a little button and be like, "Hey, yes, I do want to get your emails." So
Mhm,
yeah, I don't usually do as many pins about freebies or
mhm,
low ticket offers, but I do just add those in there. And that's And I will say, I think still the most people join my email list via listening to episodes still.
Mhm.
But they're finding those episodes via Pinterest. So I feel like Pinterest is still in
Yeah.
the process. Sometimes they do just grab it straight from Pinterest.
Mhm.
But I will say most of the time it is still through like listening to an episode and then grabbing the freebie from the show notes of that episode.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So are there podcasts that don't do well on Pinterest? So, like, is there certain niches or genres where you say, yeah, Pinterest is not like the best platform for marketing your podcast? And if there are any, can you share some examples of what those podcasts would be?
Yes, okay, 1000%. So the one genre that does not do well on Pinterest, like across the board, no matter what, is if it is like, oh dang it, what's the word? It's the opposite of evergreen. So like a daily podcast,
Mhm.
like I listen to a news podcast that's a daily podcast. So
Okay.
so the episode that came out today was news for today. So like her episode that came
Mm.
out last month, no one's really going to care about that episode, right? Cuz like the news
Yeah.
has moved on. So any kind of daily podcast like that that isn't evergreen will not do well. So the Newsworthy is the news podcast that I listen to, and I highly recommend if you would like a short sweet news podcast. Also there's like a sports like ESPN sports podcast that's like a daily here's what's happening in the world of sports. Again, no one's going to care about that in 2 months because they're going to want to know
Yeah.
what's happening right now, right? So that kind of stuff is not going to do well on Pinterest. Pinterest likes evergreen, like we've been talking about this whole time.
Mhm.
Um, I will also say if it's like a purely um if it doesn't solve a problem,
Mm.
then it probably isn't gonna do very well on Pinterest. Like, one of my all-time favorite podcasts is called The Podcast with Knox and Jamie. Well, technically, in my world, this solves a problem because it helps me feel less lonely while I'm, like, hanging out with small children all day. I can, like, stick an earbud in and, like, listen to them and laugh with them while I'm doing laundry or whatever, but,
Mm.
like, they're not telling me how to grow a podcast. They're not telling me what book I should read next. They're not telling me how like an itinerary for my trip to Scotland, right? Like there's no
Mhm.
problem that they're really solving. So they wouldn't do as well on Pinterest either. So
Yeah.
those are some. And then the last thing that I'll say is Pinterest demographics are still mostly women.
Mm.
I think it's like 70% of women in the United States specifically. United States is their biggest market currently.
Mhm.
Use Pinterest while like 30% of men in the United States use Pinterest, which honestly, when I saw that number, I was like, that is more than I expected. So there's
Yeah,
that.
it's still pretty high.
Um, and then, so if you have a podcast that's specifically for men, it might not be as good of a fit.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're trying to break into like getting more women on your podcast, like listening to your podcast, like women listeners, Pinterest would be a really good fit for you. So there's
Yeah.
that. And then millennials are really big into Pinterest, but also Gen Z is actually the fastest growing demographic
Mhm.
on Pinterest currently. So those are kind of like some numbers and some types of podcasts that don't do well. Don't do it. Well, I guess do and don't do well, depending on which side of the coin you land on.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And it makes sense because it is a platform geared towards evergreen content. And so if your content isn't evergreen or if your demographics aren't what matches like people who are currently using Pinterest, then yeah, it would be a waste of time for you and everything
Yeah,
like that.
totally.
Yeah. Okay, so as we wrap up, you are offering a special bonus to those who join the Evergreen Marketing Accelerator by April 1st. I've already been promoting it on the podcast, so everyone knows about it, but I would love for you to tell listeners all about this bonus and how it'll actually help them grow their podcast audience.
Yes. Okay. I'm so excited about this. Like, so excited. When Andrea brought this to me, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please. This sounds so fun. Okay. So I am going to, it's kind of like a version of a VIP offer that I sell to anyone who really wants it. But this is like a specific one just for this bonus. So what you will get is you will get a fully optimized Pinterest profile. So That includes 15 or more, it's usually more, Pinterest SEO keywords that I will research for you. And then I will take those and I will sprinkle them throughout all of your profile, like your About Me section and your name section, as well as I will make 5 boards for you that also include those SEO keywords and are specific to your podcast and your niche. Just because, like we were talking about before we started recording, sometimes the hardest part about Pinterest is just the setup, is just
Mhm.
creating that foundation. Because after that, all you have to do is create pins, right? And then the other thing about the bonus that's really fun is that I have 5 templates that are like I can't say guaranteed because I don't think that that's because maybe it won't work for one of you, but that I have 5 templates that are tried and true, that have worked for me, have worked for my clients, that make people stop scrolling and click on your content, that I'm also including in this bonus, so that you're not opening Canva to a blank page and being like, well, how do I even make a pin? We give you the
Mhm.
templates to get started because that will help you get the ball rolling and get your mind in the ideas of how to create pins that people will like and click on.
Yes, this is such an amazing bonus. When I was first thinking about reaching out to you about it, I was like, I want to work with Andy on this, but also I knew it would be something that is so needed because you're right. The setup part is what holds a lot of people back because it's not just as simple as Instagram where you choose a name and you start posting. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot more that goes into it, but also if you actually want the platform to work for you, you do have to do that keyword research and everything. And so you guys, like she's literally doing the heavy lifting for you. So that way, once your profile is set up, you literally just have to post pins. Like it doesn't get any better than that. So you're getting that. Then you're also working with me so that way we can actually optimize your podcast or get your podcast launched. So that way you can start getting leads and clients from your podcast. So Andy's going to help you grow your podcast audience with the right people. I'm going to help you convert those listeners into clients. Like it does not get any better than that. Like this is such a good deal.
Seriously though, like I feel like it's the perfect like funnel, right? We're
Yes.
going to introduce them to you on Pinterest. They're going to fall in love with your podcast and then they're going to fall in love with you and want to work with you and give you all their money. I mean, hello.
Yes. So this bonus will be available until April 1st. That is the last day to join the accelerator and get this Pinterest set up with Andy. So if you've been thinking about joining the accelerator or you're like, you know what, I need to be, just join us. Like, join us. You're
Yes.
going to love it. And we're going to get you set up so that way by the end of the year, like your podcast is literally doing the heavy lifting for your marketing and sales and your business. Like, I've seen, like, such amazing results for myself, but also my clients too and everything, and so you're really just it's just gonna be such a beautiful thing, like, your whole marketing and sales strategy is gonna be so good, and it's gonna allow you to be able to step back from social media so you're not relying on it as much. You're gonna be able to enjoy your summer because your podcast is going to be bringing in those leads, and you're gonna have Pinterest bringing in those leads, like, it's just such a beautiful combination.
Seriously though. Yes. I think truly, yeah, it's just kind of like the perfect setup for women who want to not feel overwhelmed by their podcast and like
Mhm.
all aspects of it, right? The marketing as well as trying to make sure that you're creating episodes that will actually bring clients and not just
Mhm.
listeners.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Andy. This was so fun getting to chat all things Pinterest with you. And it's really having you share your expertise and everything. But before we wrap up, please let listeners know where they can connect with you and learn more about you.
Okay, so my favorite social media platform is definitely Threads. So you can go find me over there. That's how we connected, right, Andrea?
Yes,
Yeah,
that is.
yeah. Threads is the best. I feel like it's the closest thing to Pinterest I can get for a normal social media because, like,
Yes.
again, it's I can just, like, type words and then press like, enter and then be done. It's glorious. And then my podcast is called Friendly Podcast Guide, where I do weekly episodes when I'm in the season. They're usually pretty short and sweet, just helping you learn how to grow your podcast. And then if you're like, okay, I hear that Pinterest worked really well for Andi and it worked really well for Andria, but will it work for me? I have a 2-minute Pinterest checklist to help you figure out if it's a good fit for you and your show called Is Pinterest Right for My Podcast? And so I'll send that to you, Andrea, and you can just link it in the show notes. But that's an easy way for you to figure out if Pinterest is worth your time.
All right. Well, I will make sure to link all of that in the show notes. But thank you again. It was so good chatting with you.
So fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.